All right, welcome to this Python class again. So today I want to talk about two things, but just a little bit of revision, just in case you have forgotten some of the things we treated last. We talked about these escape characters, and we looked at how we can use tab, the tab escape sequence to beautify our output. And when we ran this program, we had the number and then the square of that particular number. Today, what I want to talk about are still, of course, we're still talking about strings, by the way, because it's a broad topic. We'll be on this discussion for some time, just as we did for numbers. We're also doing for texts this time around. So what I want to talk about are something called raw strings. Now, supposing that you have a string that you want to output just the way it is. And by that, I mean, say for instance, you know that on your system, you have your C drive, and maybe your C drive is like this, you C, and or even in fact, let's just use a website for instance. So, and of course this is a good example, especially when we come to the part where we're talking about where we have to do with have to do data analysis, where you have to do web scraping for instance. So let's take an example. So let's say my site equal to, and I have in quote, I have https this and backslash, and let's say learn Python with IT on demand.com, and let's say that this is the site, right? Now remember that if we try to run this now, in fact, let's just do that. Let's see what we get as an output. If we try to run this, I can tell you ahead of time that we would have just a single backslash. And the reason, of course, by now you should know, is that this backslash here served as an escape character to escape this other backslash. And so because we cannot print out backslash the way it is without having to escape it, so if we have to work with it this way, let me just print this out first before I look at other things. Let me comment this out. We're done with that part of the code. And let's see what happens if we try to print out my site. And look at this. We have HTTPS, we have a colon, and then we have just one backslash. And that's not what we want. We want both of them, right? Now, you could say, okay, since we can escape, maybe we should just escape twice. And yeah, that would work absolutely well, because as you can see now, we have HTTPS and then we have these backward slashes, right? However, this is not maintainable. So say for instance, I mean, you've seen some sites where you have .com, then you have slash something, and then you still have slash maybe version 1, just a lot of slashes. What do you do in this case? Do you keep looking for where all the slashes are and then you start adding one to it? Or what is the best way to do this? And that's what I want to show you, and that's what is called raw strings. So what raw strings do is that in raw strings, they just allow you to output what you have in the quote just the way it is, regardless of whether there's an escape character there or there's no escape character, whatever it is that is inside there, just the way it is. And how do we do that? It's by prefixing what you have there with R. So once you type R here and then you have a quote, what you are saying is that I want to output a raw string, and R there means raw, RAW, raw strings. So if you now have this, I mean, it's much easier now to maintain this code because then I don't have to start looking for where all the backslashes are, because it's not a problem for me. In any case, this is just going to output raw. So if I try to print this out, you can see, and as you can see, we have the raw output. And this is particularly useful in this kind of situation where you want to scrape from the website, or you want to scrape from a website, or you want to, you're dealing with file systems and you want to talk about, maybe you want to maybe reference a D drive or C drive, or you know, some kind of drives where you work with file system, you might need to do something like this. So rather than, I would say, rather than trying to look for all the backslashes and including that them there, you can just do the raw string. And if you try to do this now, because I just included one more backslash here, just keep an eye on this part of the code and of the output and see what you have there. You now have 2. Of course, we know that that's wrong. I just used that as an example. So now, what is the one thing you should know about raw strings? One thing you should know about raw strings is that in raw strings, you cannot end them. You can't end a raw string with an odd number of this backslash character. So if I try to, for instance, do this, as you can see, immediately I get an error, because it's telling me that, hey, there's a problem here. You're missing closing quote. Closing quote was not actually my problem, because if I do this, it works just fine. But that's not the problem. In fact, let's output this. As you can see, we have a quote here. But that's not, that's not the behavior I want, right? The behavior I want is just to output this backslash together with this v1. And if I remove this, it yells at me. And so this is a rule in raw strings. You cannot have backslash. It's an odd number. So you can have, and again, so let's see, you can have 2, but you can't have 3. If I add one more to it, it yells at me. If I had another one, because that's even number, that's 4, which is an even number, there's no problem. If I had one more, which is 5, which is an odd number now, there's a problem with that. So just bear that in mind. You can't do that. And let's see what the output is here. So we have 2 backslashes, right? So this is not, it's just something that you need to take note of when working with raw strings. And yeah, I think I can stop here for now, and I'll talk about string literals in the next video. So see you in the next one. Have a good time.